We didn't say a word on the way. That was just as well. Roberts gave off the physical communion one usually receives from a woman. He had an awareness of me. It was as if some instinct in him reached into me, and I was all too aware of him. By the time we arrived, 2 police were talking to Ruta. "Mr. Rojak, you poor man," she said. "Can I make you some coffee?" I nodded. I wanted a drink as well. Perhaps she'd have sense to put something in the cup. "All right," said Roberts. "I'd like to go to the room where this happened." "Why did you say it was an accident?" "I had some dim hope of protecting my wife's reputation." "All right, then." He nodded. "It was suicide. Your wife jumped through the window." He was doing his best to make the word inoffensive. "Now, let me get it clear. Your wife got up from bed. Is that correct?" "Yes." "Went to the window and opened it?" "No, I'd opened it a few minutes before. She'd been complaining about the heat and asked me to open the window as wide as I could." I shivered now, for the window was still open and the room was cold. "Forgive me for prying," said Roberts, "but suicides are nasty unless they're cleared up quickly. I have some difficult questions to ask you." "Ask what you wish. I don't think any of this has hit me yet." "Well, then, if you don't mind, had you been intimate with your wife this evening?" "No." "Though there had been some drinking?" "Quite a bit." "Was she drunk?" "She must have had a lot of liquor in her system. However, she wasn't drunk. Deborah could hold her liquor very well." "But you had a quarrel, perhaps?" "Not exactly." "Please explain." "She was fearfully depressed. She said some ugly things." "You didn't get angry?" "I was used to it." "Would you care to say what she said?" What does a wife ever accuse a husband of? She tells him one way or another that he's not man enough for her." "Some wives," said Roberts, "complain that their husband is running around too much." "I had my private life. Deborah had hers. People who come from Deborah's background don't feel at ease until their marriage is congealed into a marriage of convenience." "That sounds sort of peaceful," said Roberts. "Obviously it wasn't. Deborah suffered from profound depressions, but she kept them to herself. She was a proud woman. I doubt if even her closest friends were aware of the extent of these depressions. When she felt bad, she'd go to bed and stay in bed for a day or two at a time. She'd keep to herself. I haven't seen a great deal of her this last year, and you can certainly check with the maid." "We got a couple of men talking to her right now," said the older detective with a wide, happy smile, as if his only desire in the world was to assist me. "How about the coffee?" I asked. "Coming up," said Roberts. He went to the door, called down, and came back. "What did she have to be depressed about?" he asked easily. "She was religious, a very religious Catholic, and I'm not Catholic. I think she felt that to be married to me kept her in mortal sin." "So, as a very religious Catholic," said Roberts, "she decided to save her immortal soul by committing suicide?" There was just the hint of a pause between us. "Deborah had an unusual mind," I said. "She talked often of suicide to me, particularly when she was in one of her depressions. She had a miscarriage, you see, and couldn't have any more children. Deborah had a sense of something bad inside herself. She felt haunted by demons. Does that mean anything to you?" "No," said Roberts. "I don't know how to put demons on a police report." The older detective winked at me again with great joviality. "Roberts, you don't strike me as the type to commit suicide," I said. "It's true. I'm not the type." "Well, then, don't you think a little charity might be in order when you try to understand the suicidal mind?" "You're not on television, Mr. Rojak," Roberts said. "Look, I know where I am. I'm doing my best to try to explain something to you. Would you be happier if I were under sedation?" "I might be more convinced," said Roberts. "Does that remark indicate suspicion?" I didn't hear you.
Does that remark indicate suspicion?
Now, wait a minute, Mr. Rojek. Let's get squared away. There'll be newspapermen downstairs already. I want to be able to go down and say to those reporters, I think she jumped. Go easy on that poor bastard in there. You read me? I don't want to have to say, this character's a creep. He may have given her a shove. All right, I said. Fair enough. If you wish, he said, you can answer no questions and just ask for a lawyer. I don't want one. I don't see why I need one. Then let's keep talking. I don't know if I can explain it to you, I said. Deborah believed her soul was dying. I think that's why she wanted to commit suicide. That's the only explanation you can offer? Now, I waited for a minute. I don't know if there's any basis to this, but Deborah believed she was riddled with cancer. I had the feeling I was beginning to convince him for the first time. My father died of cancer, he said. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I can only say I wasn't very happy to listen to Deborah's theories because my mother passed away from leukemia. He nodded. Look, Rojek, I might as well tell you there'll be an autopsy on your wife. It might be better all around if the cancer shows, because there's a correlation between cancer and suicide. I'll grant you that. And he looked at his watch. Some practical questions. Did your wife have a lot of money? I don't know. We never talked about her money. So far as you know, you're not in her will? If she has any money, I don't believe she would have left it to me. It would go to her daughter. All right, Mr. Rojek, let's get into tonight. She asked me to open the window. When she started to talk, she told me my mother had had cancer and I had had it too, and that I gave it to her. She said all the years we were lying in bed as husband and wife, I was giving it to her. What did you say? Something equally ugly. Please, go into it, said Roberts. I said that it was just as well because she was a parasite and I had work to do. I even said if her soul was dying, it deserved to. It was vicious. What did she do then? She got out of bed and went over to the window and said, if you don't retract that, I'll jump. I was confident she didn't mean it. Her very use of a word like retract. I simply told her, well, then jump. Rid the world of your poison. She took a step on the ledge, and out she went. And I felt as if something blew back from her as she fell and brushed against my face. I began to shudder. The picture I had given was real to me. I must have passed out for a moment because I came to lying on the floor and thought, you're guilty of her death. So go slow for a while, will you, Roberts? This has not been easy. Yeah, said Roberts. I think I believe you. Another detective came into the room. He introduced himself as Lieutenant Lesnicki. Why did you kill her, Rojak? He asked. What's up? Said Roberts. Her hyoid bone is broken. Lesnicki looked at me. Why didn't you say you strangled her before you threw her out? I didn't. The doctor's evidence showed you strangled her. I don't believe it. My wife fell 10 stories and then was struck by a car. Robert sat back. I looked to him as if he were the first ally and last best friend I had in the world, and he leaned forward and said, Mr. Rojak, we handle a lot of suicides in a year. They take pills, they cut their wrists, they stick a pistol in their mouth. Sometimes they jump. But in all the years I've been in the force, I never heard of a woman jumping from an open window while her husband was watching. You better get yourself a lawyer, buddy, said Lesnicki. I don't need one. Come on, said Roberts. Let's go over to the precinct. The press were downstairs in the street, about 8 or 10 of them, and they did an odd dance about us, their flashbulbs going off, their questions flying, their faces over-cheerful and greedy. "Hey, Lesnicki, he do it?" one cried. "Hey, Roberts," another cried. "What's the word?" "Routine," said Roberts. "Routine." We were at the morgue for only a few minutes. I didn't want to look at Deborah this time. I took no more than a glimpse when the sheet was laid back, and caught for that act a clear view of one green eye staring open, hard as marble, dead as the dead eye of a fish, and her poor face swollen, her beauty gone obese. There were more photographers and reporters at the entrance to the precinct, and again they were all shouting and talking out at once. "Did he do it?" I heard one yell. "You holding him?" cried another. "What's the pitch, Roberts? What's the pitch?" Roberts led me to a desk. We sat down. He took out a folder and wrote in it for a few minutes. Then he looked up. We were alone again. "You're aware," said Roberts, "that I don't like the feel of this one. Neither does Lesnicki. I'm going to tell you, Lesnicki is an animal when it comes to this sort of stuff. He's convinced you killed her. He thinks you broke her hyoid bone with a silk stocking wrapped around her neck. He's hoping you did it a couple of hours before you pushed her out." "Why?" "Because, friend, if she was gone for a couple of hours, it could show up in the autopsy." "If it does, you have a case." "Oh, we have the beginnings of a case. I have a nose for one thing. I know you were making out with that German maid." His hard blue eyes looked into me. I held the stare until my eyes began to water. Then he looked away. "Rojak, you're lucky nobody got hurt too much in that 5-car crack-up. I mean, think if a kid had been killed." Indeed, I'd never considered this until now. It had not been part of my intent, after all, to telescope 5 cars on the East River Drive. "So look," he went on, "you're not in the worst of spots. If you confess this, a smart lawyer could get you off with 20 years, which, as a practical matter, is usually about 12 years and can be as little as 8. We'll cooperate to the extent that we'll say your confession was given us of your own free will. Whereas, if you wait till all the evidence accumulates and then confess, you'll get life. Then, even at best, you won't be out for 20 years. And if you fight it all the way, you could face the chair, buddy. So sit on this and think. I'm getting some coffee." There was nothing to do but think of what he'd said. I was trying to calculate how much time had gone by from that moment I recognized Deborah was dead until she struck the ground on the East River Drive. A leaden anxiety settled in my stomach. Still, I forced myself to study the room. There were detectives talking to people at 4 or 5 of the desks. In the far corner, behind a half partition, I thought I could hear Ruta's voice. And then across the room, I saw a head with long blonde hair. It was Cherry. She was with Uncle and Tony, and her friends were arguing with Lieutenant Lesnicki and 2 detectives I hadn't seen before. A face was looking at me. "Why'd you kill her?" asked Lesnicki. I didn't. But Lesnicki seemed happier now. His narrow face was relaxed, and the stale clam color of his eyes had a hint of life. "Hey, buddy," he said with an open grin, "you're giving us a hard time." I liked Lesnicki enormously. It was part of the fever. "You're on television, right?" I nodded. "Well," he went on, "you ought to get us on a program some night, assuming the apartment would approve. I could tell a story or 2. Crime has got logic, you understand me?" "No," he explained. "Your wife goes out a window, for instance, because of the cancer, you say, and 5 cars smack up on the East River Drive because of her. Who's in one of the cars but little Uncle Ganucci? Eddie Ganucci, you heard of him. In the mob, isn't he? He's a prince, one of the biggest in the country, and he falls into our lap. We had a grand jury subpoena on him for 2 years." "What about the girl? Who's she?" I asked. "Abroad. The nephew's got an after-hours spot, and she sings there. A very sick broad. She makes it with spades. He named the club and a Negro singer whose records I'd listened to for years. "Yeah, Shago Martin, that's who she makes it with," said Lesnicky. "When a dame dyes her straw, she's looking for a big black boogie." We were silent. Lesnicky put a hand on my arm. "It's beginning to go bad for you," he said. "That German girl is cracking." "What is she to confess?" "Jack, that German girl has been in the sack tonight. Admit you gave the maid a bang this evening." "I don't see what the maid had to do with this," I said. "An affair with the maid wouldn't give me cause to murder my wife." "Forget those petty details," said Lesnicky. "I want to propose something. Get one of the best lawyers in town, and you can be out in the street in 6 months. At this moment he looked more like an old thief than a lieutenant of detectives. "Think. I'm going over to visit little uncle." I watched him cross the room. The old man stood up to meet him, and they shook hands. Then they put their heads together. I saw Cherry look over at me, and on an impulse I waved. She waved back merrily. Roberts came back. He smiled. "There's no use in asking you for a confession, is there?" "No." "All right, then. We're going to let you go." "You are?" "Yes." "Is it all over?" "Oh, no. It's not over for you till the coroner brings in a report of suicide." "When's that?" He shrugged. "A day, a week. Don't leave town till the coroner's heard from." "I'm still under suspicion?" "Oh, come on. We know you did it." "But you can't hold me?" "Yeah, we could hold you as a material witness, and we could work on you for 72 hours, and you'd crack. But you're in luck. You're in great luck. We have to stick with Ganucci this week. We don't have time for you." "You also have no evidence." "The girl talked. We know you've been with her." "Means nothing." "We have some other evidence, but I don't want to get into it now. We'll see you in a day or two. Stay away from your wife's apartment, and stay away from the maid. You wouldn't want to tamper with a potential witness." "No, I wouldn't." "By the way, no hard feelings?" "Oh, none." "I mean it. You hold up all right. You're not bad." "Thank you." "This may interest you. We got the autopsy report. There's evidence your wife did have cancer. They're going to make some slides to verify it, but it does look good for you." "I see." "That's why we're letting you go." "I see." "Don't relax too much. The autopsy also showed that your wife's large intestine was in an interesting state." "What do you mean by that?" "You'll get your chance to worry later this week." He stood up. "Good night, pal." Then he stopped. "Oh, yes, I forgot to ask you to sign the autopsy papers. Would you sign them now?" "Your autopsy was illegal." "I'd say it was irregular." "I don't know if I want to sign the papers." "Suit yourself, pal. If you don't, we can put you in a cell until the coroner brings back his report." "Beautiful," I said. "Not that good," said Roberts. "Just a goof. Here. Sign here." Which I did. I walked for miles through the long drizzle of the early morning, and close to dawn I found myself in the village outside the after-hours club where Cherry was singing. The entrance to the joint was a battered metal door which opened at my knock. "I'm a friend of Tony's," I said to the man in the hall. He shrugged and let me by. There was a man playing the piano, and Cherry was singing. She saw me come in, and she smiled. As she sang, I drank her in. My ear for a singer had never been so fine. which is not to say that she was a great singer. She was not. But I enjoyed her, which was just a little too late, for as she walked past me to the bar, a professional half-smile on her face, her eye chose almost not to see me. "Let's have a drink," I said to her. "I'm having a drink with some friends," she said, "but come over and join us." And she gave a smile and walked over to 3 men and 2 women I decided earlier were Tony's friends. She didn't know the women. She greeted the men as Romeo, Sam, and Gary. Sam whispered in Romeo's ear. Romeo was silent. Now they all were silent. Sitting where I was, not 15 feet from the bar, I'd come to the conclusion that if I were to be dead in 3 days, Romeo was the man who was likely to do the job. I stood up and walked towards them. "I'll fill you in. This lady is my escort for the evening," said Romeo. "I'm surprised," I said. "It's a fact." "I'm really surprised," I said. "Buddy, you played out your string," said Romeo. "Now beat it." "You couldn't think of a more agreeable way to ask me to leave?" "Move on." I was ready to go. There was very little keeping me. But there was something. It was the glitter of light in Cherry's eyes, bright and prideful. That fed the anger to stare back into Romeo's eyes. I'll move on when the lady asks me to move, and not before. "The condemned man ate a hearty meal," said Gary. I didn't take my eyes from Romeo's eyes. We locked one stare into the other. "You're going to get hurt," said his eyes. "I have something going for me," said my eyes back. His expression turned dubious. The odds were not established for him. He had no ideas in his eyes, only pressure. Maybe he thought I had a gun. "You invite this guy over?" asked Romeo. "Of course I did," said Cherry, "and you gave him one bitch of a greeting. This gentleman's a celebrity. He's Mr. Stephen Richards Rojak, whose television program you are all familiar with. Click." "Yes," said Sam. "Click," said Gary. "And now, since Mr. Rojak is very special to me," said Cherry, putting one perfumed run of 4 fingertips on the back of my neck, "we're going in the corner and have a few drinks." "You're on again in 15 minutes, said the bartender. "I didn't hear you," said Cherry. We took a little table with a lamp shaped like a candle about 10 feet from the isolated stand, with its deserted piano and empty microphone. In this light, she was a pure cat. Cat's eyes, cat's nostrils, cat's knowing mouth. We leaned forward and gave a kiss. It was not the nicest kiss I ever had, but it was certainly the most powerful. The bartender came over. "Time for you to go on." "Not singing any more tonight." "I'll have to call Tony," he said. "Call Tony," she said, "and bring us 2 doubles." The phone was ringing. "Mr. Rojak, for you," the bartender called out, and nodded at a booth off the bar. As I passed, I noticed that Romeo, Sam, Gary, the girls, all were gone. "Rojak?" "Yeah?" "Roberts." "You still up?" "Yeah, buddy, I'm still up." "Where are you?" "In Queens. I was just going to bed." He paused. "What happened? Who'd you get a call from?" "Higher up." "And what did they say?" "Rojak, don't give me any more of that upper-class zazz. I know where you were born. Listen, get out of the place you're in. You're not 100% safe." "I may not be safe, but I'm certainly not suffering." "Your case is taking some turns." "What do you mean?" "You didn't tell us everything about your wife." "Everything?" "Either you know what I'm talking about or you don't." "Obviously I don't." "Let it go." "This new information, is it good or bad?" Come to the precinct at 5:30 this afternoon. That's all you care to tell me? I hear your father-in-law is flying into town this morning. Where did you hear that? On the radio. Roberts laughed. It was his first joke of the morning. I heard it on the radio. Now, Rojic, give me the bartender. I want to talk to him. When I got back to the table, Tony was there. He looked worried. Cherry, I said with a smile, can you believe it? The police think I ought to leave. Some police are intelligent people, Tony said. Still, they're not taking the best care of me. They were sufficiently worried to talk to your bartender after they spoke to me. We never have trouble in here, Tony said. Trouble comes in packages out in the street. I'm going to change my clothes, Cherry said to me. I'll wait for you, I said. Tony and I were now alone. I could feel his discomfort. He shifted his feet. Then he spoke. It's hot in here. Yes, I said. Too bad about your wife. Dreadful, I said. It didn't put him off. I used to know her, he said. For fact? I had another joint uptown. She used to drop in with friends. Cherry had come out of a back room. She was carrying a suitcase and wearing a street dress and cloth overcoat. Let's get out of here, she said to me, and without a backward look at Tony, went for the door. I started to follow her, but the center of my back told me Tony was going to loose a knife and loose it good. Yes, said Tony. Your wife, Mr. Rojak, was a real swinger. You know, I said to Tony, it's a pity about your uncle's disease. He takes it well, said Tony. On that echo, I left with her. We can't go to my place, Cherry said. Tony will telephone every 15 minutes. Then he'll send somebody around to knock on the door. Well, we can't go to my place. There'll be nothing but reporters, friends, business associates, and family. She sighed. I have a place. It's a special place. I'll treat it with respect, I said. We took a cab to the Lower East Side, and there on this cold, misty March morning, with a gray in the sky to equal the breadth of those wet city streets, we climbed the 5 flights of a tenement. The stench of slum plumbing gave a terror of old age. How ill is illness, how vile the suggestion of villainous old bowels. Cherry had her keys out and opened the door after turning the tumbler in 2 separate locks. She took off her coat, lit the gas heater, and went to a cupboard where she got 2 glasses and a bottle to pour us each a drink. My sister used to live here, she said. She wanted to study painting, so I staked her a little bit. Just a bit. It's her furniture. And she moved out? After a pause. Yes, it's my place now. Sometimes I feel guilty, she said, that I keep it and hardly use it when all these families are here jammed into one another. But it was my younger sister's place. I don't want to give it up. There was only the one room in which we stood, a living room, dining room, kitchen, and bedroom 12 feet by 25. There was a double bed on legs with no headboard, a couch with 1 broken leg, a bridge table, 2 metal folding chairs, a movie director's canvas seat, and an easel. On the wall were a number of paintings hung unframed, but for a 1/4 inch width of pine stripping. Are these your sister's paintings? I asked. I didn't wish to ask the question, but I could feel her waiting. Yes. Something happened to your sister, didn't it? Yes. She crack up? She cracked up, and then she died. There was no emotion in her voice. Something flat and little had settled on the event. How did she die? She got hurt by a man she was going with. He was nothing but a pimp. He beat her up one night, and she didn't recover from that. She'd been in love with somebody else, and she lost him. To me. I took her boyfriend away. Cherry shivered. I never thought I'd do something like that, but I did. Was it Tony? Oh, Jesus, of course it wasn't Tony. It was Shago Martin. The singer? No, honey, Shago Martin the explorer. Now Cherry finished a drink and poured another. You see, baby, she said, dig. My sister was just one of 6 girls Shago had waiting for him every time he passed through New York. And I decided she was too dedicated to him. She was just a kid. So I got together with her and Shago to shame him out of it, and crash, I became one of the 6 girls he had waiting for him in New York. I mean, Shago's a stud, Mr. Rojak. Well, I happen to feel like a stud right now, I said. It was true. I'm feeling pretty mean myself, Cherry said. So we made love without preliminary. Not 30 seconds had gone by before I slipped quietly into her. It was cool in mood, as if we were 2 professional dancers in a long, slow study alone at night on a moonlit floor. I felt I could go on forever. Exhaustion had freed me. I was alive in some deep water below sex, some tunnel of the dream where effort was divorced at last from price. She was exquisite. She was exquisitely sensitive. Again, I had expected no less. Some cool blonde sense of violet shadow lived in the turn of her flesh. I had never moved so well. It was impossible to make a mistake. I went to sleep with my arms around her. Hours went by. 4 hours, 5 hours. I came up like a diver, resting at each level, my body waking as I emerged. When I finally opened my eyes, I knew everything was all right inside the room. Outside, everything was wrong. She was so sound asleep. I got dressed and didn't bother to look for a razor. I'd shave at home. Before I left, I stopped to write a note. Hey, you sleep deep, but what a sight. See you soon, beautiful, I hope. Going to try to be here by tonight, I put in parenthesis at the foot of the page. If you have to be out, leave a note where, when. And came close to an instant of pure anguish. Would I ever get back to this place? The thought of Lesnicki opened a grave in my stomach. The fresh air was keeping me alive. I passed a bar, walked on. My feet led me past. I bought several newspapers, took a cab, and went back to my apartment. On the ride, I did my reading. There was no need to go thoroughly through the news stories. They splashed the front page, spoke of the death as suicide, gave details about Deborah and details about me, half of them correct, half incorrect, gave promise in their excitement that the story was good for 2 days more and probably a feature for the weekend roundup. They hinted, but very lightly, that the police were in the scene. They announced me as unavailable for comment, Barney Oswald Kelly as unavailable for comment, and the television studio and the university as willing to give no comment. An unidentified colleague at the university was quoted as saying, "They were a splendid couple." I had a bad moment turning the key to the apartment. Deborah was everywhere. The phone was ringing. It went 4 times, 5 times. Then the answer service picked it up. In the bathroom, I rinsed my face, then picked a summer gray suit with a quiet superimposed gray plaid, black shoes, a blue-gray shirt, a black knit tie, a handkerchief for the breast pocket, and dressed all the way, even brushed my shoes, breathing all the while with the anxiety of an asthmatic on the edge of an attack. Once again, the phone was ringing. This time I answered. It was the producer of my television show. "Steve, old boy, old friend, how do you feel?" "Cold as ice, Arthur." The answer service was also on the line. "Mr. Rojak, will you call as soon as you finish this call? We have to give you several messages." "Yes, Gloria, thank you." Oh, Christ, boy, you've laid the studio in a panic. Will you take our commiserations? Yes, thanks, Arthur. No, I mean, Steve, anxiety is loose here today. It hasn't been so bad since Kennedy stood up to Khrushchev with the missiles. Poor Deborah, I only met her once, but she's a great woman. Yes, was. Steve, you must be in a state of shock. I'm a little rocky, kid. I'll bet. Steve, the pressure here this morning has been pressure cooker. The newspapers want a statement on the future of the show. I can't think about that now. Baby, you got to. We're in difficulties, boy. Why don't you just say the show will not be on the air for a short period? Steve, it's not that anybody thinks you gave Deborah a shove. Christ, I don't, but the critical factor is this. No audience is going to trust a man whose wife takes a leap. Check. See what I mean? No audience in the world. I see. I could cry, Steve. Check. It was a great program, Steve. Nice to be associated with you, Arthur. Yeah. So long. Ciao. The phone rang. It was the answer service. The messages were not as numerous as I had expected. There was a request from Barney Oswald Kelly's secretary to telephone Mr. Kelly at his suite in the Waldorf Towers. There were no calls from any of Deborah's friends, nor were there any from the friends I had supposed we might have in common. Gloria, I said to the operator when she finished, do me a favor. Call the Waldorf Towers and make an appointment with Mr. Kelly. Tell his secretary I'd like to see him at 7:30 tonight. If the time isn't good, call me back. All right, I will, Mr. Rojak. Of course I will. And listen, Mr. Rojak. Yes? The girls here all want to say that they feel with you in your tragic loss. Oh, thank you, Gloria. It's good of you to say that. I dialed the head of my department at the university. Stephen, he said, I'm awfully glad to hear from you. I've been so worried I can't imagine a more heinous occasion for any of us, poor man. It's been difficult, Frederick. As you know, Deborah and I have been not very close for a while. It's been an earthquake, yes. Just god-awful, I'm sure. There was a silence between us. Well, Fred, what do you suggest? The first question is whether you feel up to taking your classes immediately. I should think you don't. His voice closed that gate all but perfectly. Silence. All right, Fred. What do you want? Take a leave until the beginning of the fall semester. We will announce your bereavement and retirement from active teaching duties for an indefinite period. Then we'll see. Fred, somehow you've won this one. His voice had a Midwestern twang, a sort of, don't kid with me, boy. He clicked his tongue once. I think you ought to know, he said. I've been formally questioned about you today. By police? No, somebody much more hush-hush. What in hell have you and Deborah been up to? And then he hung up. Next moment, the phone rang again. My perspiration flowed. Hello, Stephen, came a breathless voice. Speaking. Stephen, I have to whisper. Who is it? Chukiba. Who? Chukiba Lamb. Jigo. Jigo, how are you? She was one of Deborah's 10 best friends, which is to say she was Deborah's best friend for 1 month in every 10. I know something you don't know. Something about that maid. What? Promise to believe me? Promise. That maid is Barney Kelly's mistress. You know the kind a man his age has. They always have those thin lips which can go anywhere. Now, why would Barney Kelly be so interested in what Deborah was doing that he would give up such a mistress? All I know is the maid came as a condition of Deborah's allowance. She didn't have one.
Kelly gave Deborah $500 a week. Did you think you were supporting her by yourself, Horatio Alger? I don't know what to think. Somebody killed her. I really doubt it, Jigo. She was done in. I don't think so. I know. Then go to the police. I'm afraid to. Why? Because I think there are repercussions to this. She spoke in a whisper which was quite inside her normal whisper. Deborah was a spy. You're mad. Better believe me, handsome. Why, in the name of heaven, would Deborah be a spy? Steve, she was bored. She was always bored. She'd do anything to avoid being bored. Who was she a spy for? Well, I don't know. She was capable of anything. I once accused her of being CIA, and she laughed. Those idiots, she said. They're all college professors or guerrillas wearing paratroop boots. Anyway, I know she used to be MI6. When? When we were in the convent in London. That's how she would get a pass to get out. She had a boyfriend who was MI6 anyway. I groaned. There was an awful possibility that some blighted hair of truth was still alive in all of this. I could feel mysteries revolving into mysteries like galaxies forming themselves, and knew with some sort of defeated woe that I would never learn a tenth of what had really happened. Not ever. I said goodbye to her and hung up.